There comes a moment in every person's life when they look in the mirror and don't recognize who's staring back. Not because they've changed, but because they haven't. Same thoughts, same fears, same stories, days bleeding into weeks, weeks into years, and nothing inside has truly evolved. It's a quiet kind of suffering, not dramatic, not loud, but corrosive. You feel it when you lie in bed at night, fully aware that something needs to break, and it has to be you. Destruction isn't always chaos. Sometimes it's clarity. And when life whispers that you've outgrown your current self, ignoring it becomes a slow kind of death. The version of you that clings to comfort, that makes excuses, that negotiates with fear, that version has to go. Not fixed, not improved, erased. That's the essence of Stoicism. Not decoration, not inspiration, but transformation. Real irreversible change. The kind that doesn't ask for applause or permission. The kind that requires walking into the fire of your own weakness and deciding never to walk back out the same. Rebuilding yourself starts with destruction. And the truth is, most people won't understand why you've gone quiet, why you've disappeared, why you no longer laugh at the same jokes or sit at the same tables. Let them wonder. Let them label it arrogance, coldness, or ego. You're not here to be understood by the old world. You're here to become something the old world can't define. You see, every past version of you is a shadow, and shadows only survive when you keep standing in the same light. But once you move, once you shift, the shadow no longer fits. That's the first sign of growth. Discomfort, disconnection, distance. It's not a sign you're lost. It's a sign you're finally moving. And no, it won't be easy. In fact, it's supposed to hurt. When you strip away the layers you've built to survive, you expose what's real. And what's real is often messy, unfinished, and unprepared. But it's also honest. And from honesty comes power. Stoicism teaches us to endure. Yes, but more than that, it teaches us to create. You don't just survive hardship, you shape yourself through it. You become the sculptor in the stone. You learn to subtract everything false until only truth remains. And that truth, your truth, is the foundation for a stronger self. So if you're listening to this right now and you feel that strange pull inside, a quiet voice telling you that your old self is no longer enough, don't ignore it. Don't smother it with distractions or numbing habits. Listen. That's the call. Not to change slightly, but to burn the script and rewrite your entire story. It doesn't matter who you've been. What matters is what you're willing to destroy and what you're brave enough to become. This isn't about revenge or proving them wrong. It's about silence, stillness, reinvention. Not for the world, for yourself. And it starts today. If this resonates with you, make sure to subscribe to Stoic Ocean for more content on personal transformation and building unbreakable strength. Together, we'll explore how to destroy what holds you back and rebuild into someone you're proud to become. Now let's begin with the first step in this journey of complete transformation. Number 1, burn the bridges to your past. There's a reason why ancient warriors burned their ships after reaching enemy shores. It wasn't for drama, it was for clarity. It meant one thing. There's no going back, only forward, only through. That's the kind of decision you need to make when it comes to your past. Not to keep it close just in case, not to revisit it when things get hard, but to destroy every bridge that leads back to the version of you that tolerated less than you deserved. Too many people want to grow without sacrificing. They say they are ready for change, but still check the door to the past every night before bed. Still text that person they know they've outgrown. Still engage in old habits that feel familiar, even if they've become poisonous. But real transformation is ruthless. It doesn't allow nostalgia to become an excuse. It doesn't offer a return policy. It demands that you let go of everything that once made you feel safe, but now keeps you small. The past isn't just memory, it's momentum. Every thought you replay, every pattern you don't break becomes the gravity that pulls you back into who you were. And Stoicism reminds us that we are not our memories. We are our decisions. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." And that includes the way you carry your past. You can either wear it like chains or like armor you've outgrown. Burning the bridge doesn't mean forgetting what happened. It means refusing to let it define what happens next. It means stopping yourself mid-thought when you say, "This is just who I am," and challenging it with, "Who do I want to become?" Because until you sever the emotional attachment to your past identity, every new version of yourself will be built on a cracked foundation. You need to make your transformation non-negotiable. That might mean blocking numbers, walking away from people who've known you for years but never truly saw you, cutting ties with habits that comforted you in survival mode but sabotage you in growth mode. It means deleting, purging, erasing, not for revenge but for renewal. Because if you leave a single thread connected to your past self, you will pull yourself back in when the pressure rises. And the pressure will rise. Change isn't a smooth climb. It's a collapse and a rebuild. And in the moments when you feel weakest, your mind will offer you old escapes dressed up as comfort. The relationship you shouldn't revive. The substance you swore you were done with. The patterns that made you feel numb and safe and stuck. This is when the bridges must already be gone. So there's no way back, only through. People will say, "You've changed." Some will say you've become cold, distant, harsh, but they're not talking to the new you. They're mourning the old version that was easier to control. Let them. It's not your job to drag everyone into your future. Some of them were only meant to know the outdated version of you. That's their chapter. Your next one starts when you stop rewriting the last. There's a kind of freedom that only comes when the past can no longer reach you, not because it doesn't exist, but because you've built something stronger in its place. And once that freedom becomes your foundation, everything changes. Your standards rise, your habits sharpen, your boundaries become sacred. And that version of you, the one who used to apologize for being too much or not enough, disappears. You become someone who walks forward not in fear of what they've lost, but in awe of what they're building. So ask yourself honestly, what bridges are you still afraid to burn? What part of your old identity still has a voice in your new life? And are you willing finally to silence it? Not with anger, but with clarity. Because the fire you light behind you is the same fire that will forge who you're meant to become. And number 2, the power of walking alone. There's a moment when you realize that solitude isn't loneliness. It's power, and not the loud, attention-seeking kind of power the world tries to sell you, but the kind that builds in silence when no one is clapping, when no one is watching, and when your only audience is the mirror. Most people fear being alone because they've never taken the time to meet who they really are. They surround themselves with noise, opinions, distractions, anything that keeps them from facing the quiet truth of their own mind. But that silence, that stillness, is where the real transformation begins. Walking alone means you stop outsourcing your decisions to the crowd. It means your values are no longer dictated by approval. You don't dress for their compliments. You don't act for their praise. And you definitely don't live for their expectations. Instead, you create a life that's aligned with your own code, even if no one else understands it, especially if no one else understands it. Because that's the true test. Are you willing to walk away from everything familiar to become someone you've never been? We're conditioned to believe that being surrounded means we're doing something right. But the truth is, the crowd often forms around comfort, not conviction. It celebrates the easy path, the familiar, the predictable. And when you start thinking differently, living differently, when you start elevating, don't be surprised if that crowd fades. They're not leaving because you failed them. They're leaving because you've outgrown them. And that's exactly what's supposed to happen. There is a sacred kind of strength that forms when you wake up each day and realize that you are responsible for your own momentum. No one's coming to save you. No one is obligated to understand your path. The Stoic understands this deeply. Epictetus taught that we should want things to happen, not as we wish, but as they do, and to use what happens as fuel for self-mastery. That's what walking alone teaches you, that you are not at the mercy of circumstance, that your mind is the one place no one can invade unless you let them. When you walk alone, your steps become intentional. You're not pulled left or right by trends or expectations. You start saying no more often, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. You protect your time like it matters because it does. You stop explaining yourself. You stop asking for permission. You start trusting your own voice over the noise of the world. And in doing so, you reclaim something priceless, sovereignty over your own life. But this path isn't without pain. There will be moments of doubt, nights when the silence feels too loud, when the absence of validation feels like rejection. This is where most people turn back, but this is also where real growth happens. Because in that space, you're no longer propped up by external support. You're standing on your own. Every belief is tested, every insecurity exposed. But with each step, you build something that can't be taken from you. Self-reliance. Solitude forces you to confront your weaknesses without distraction. It puts a mirror to your ego, your habits, your flaws. And that confrontation is the birthplace of discipline. You don't get to blame anyone else. You don't get to wait for a better time. You face yourself raw and unfiltered. And in that honesty, you either fall back into comfort or rise into clarity. When you learn to walk alone, you stop fearing being left behind. You understand that solitude isn't punishment, it's refinement. And once you master it, you become someone who doesn't chase, they attract. You don't need to seek validation. Your presence speaks for itself. And the irony, once you reach that level, the right people start showing up. Not because you needed them, but because you no longer did. You see, walking alone isn't a punishment, it's a privilege. It means you're strong enough to lead yourself, to question everything, to destroy illusions and build convictions. It means you're no longer waiting to be chosen, liked, or saved. You've already chosen yourself. So if you find yourself walking alone right now, good. That means you're not following. That means you're not pretending. That means you're doing the inner work that no one sees. But everyone eventually feels keep going. The path may be quiet, but your future is listening. Because solitude isn't the absence of connection. It's the space where the most important connection is built, the one with yourself. Number 3, breaking free from weakness and comfort. Comfort is seductive. It wraps itself around you like a warm blanket on a cold morning, soft, familiar, and almost impossible to resist. But what makes you comfortable today often destroys your potential tomorrow. The Stoics understood this with brutal clarity. The more you seek ease, the more you weaken the very muscles, mental, emotional, and physical, that are required to endure life. And here's the truth most people avoid. If you don't deliberately break free from comfort, it will quietly become your prison. Weakness doesn't arrive with a warning. It creeps in slowly, disguised as rest, as reward, as I deserve this. But little by little, you stop pushing yourself. You stop challenging your limits. You start choosing the easy option. You say, I'll do it tomorrow once. And suddenly that phrase becomes your identity. You stop risking. You stop growing. You become a shell of the person you once dreamed of being. Not because you failed, but because you surrendered to comfort. Comfort breeds stagnation, and stagnation breeds decay. When life stops testing you, you stop evolving. Think about it. Every moment that shaped you, made you stronger, sharper, more aware, didn't come from ease. It came from challenge, from discomfort, from being stretched beyond what you thought you could handle. That's where strength is born. Not in pleasure, but in pressure. The Stoics weren't just philosophers. They were warriors of the mind. Seneca wrote, "We must undergo a hard winter training and not rush into things for which we haven't prepared." He knew that without deliberate difficulty, the mind atrophies. The soul gets soft, and the longer you avoid resistance, the more foreign it begins to feel until even the slightest challenge feels overwhelming. That's why you have to train yourself daily to resist the pull of comfort. Not because pain is noble in itself, but because it reveals something essential. Pain shows you where you're still soft, where you still have work to do, where you're still hiding from your own potential. And if you're brave enough to lean into it instead of away from it, you begin to rewrite your relationship with yourself. Breaking free from weakness starts with honesty. Radical, uncomfortable honesty. You ask yourself, where have I gotten lazy? Where have I made excuses? Where have I chosen what's easy over what's necessary? And then, without fanfare, without waiting for the perfect moment, you do the hard thing, not because it feels good, but because it builds who you want to become. Maybe it's getting up earlier. Maybe it's having that conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe it's saying no to things you once said yes to just to please others. Maybe it's finally committing to the work you've been postponing. Whatever it is, face it. Don't wait to feel ready. You won't. The feeling comes after the action. Confidence is the reward, not the requirement. Weakness isn't about being incapable. It's about being unwilling, and willingness can be trained. Every time you choose effort over ease, you reinforce a new identity. You become someone who acts in alignment with discipline, not emotion. And over time, that repetition creates internal strength. Not the kind that needs to be seen, but the kind that holds you steady when everything else shakes. Comfort wants you to settle. Weakness wants you to conform. But something inside you knows that you were not built for mediocrity. You were built to evolve. And evolution requires friction, resistance, sacrifice. The cost of growth is always discomfort, but the cost of comfort is your life. Don't be the person who looks back a year from now and realizes they're still in the same place. Be the person who looks back and barely recognizes who they used to be because they had the courage to confront what was soft and replace it with what was solid. So take a deep breath and ask yourself, what area of your life have you allowed comfort to govern? What would happen if just for the next 7 days you did the opposite of what felt easy? What would you build if you stopped avoiding resistance and started using it? Because the path to your strongest self begins the moment you stop negotiating with weakness and start choosing what makes you worthy of who you want to become. Number 4. Erasing the old mindset and programming a new one. Your life is a reflection of your programming, not just the conscious choices you make, but the subconscious beliefs you've absorbed without even realizing it. The voices that shaped you in childhood, the fears that you never questioned, the limits you've accepted as just the way things are. And here's the hard truth. If you don't consciously rewrite the script running in your mind, you'll spend your entire life acting out someone else's story. Most people don't realize how deep the conditioning goes. It's in the way you talk to yourself when you fail. It's in the dreams you secretly believe are too big for you. It's in the way you flinch when someone disrespects you, but say nothing because that's what you've always done. These patterns didn't come from nowhere. They were learned, and what's learned can be unlearned. The Stoics believed that the mind is a tool, not a master. Epictetus said it's not events that disturb people. It's their judgments about them. And those judgments, they come from your programming. They come from the invisible code you run every day, often without your permission. So if you want to rebuild yourself, you can't just change your habits. You have to go deeper. You have to challenge the very beliefs that gave birth to those habits. But this isn't a surface-level change. It's a war within your own mind. Every time you try to think differently, the old program fights back. It tells you to stay small, to stay safe. It whispers that growth is dangerous, that ambition is selfish, that discipline is too hard. And if you don't silence that voice with conscious thought, it will quietly sabotage everything you try to build. Reprogramming your mind starts with awareness. You have to catch the thought as it happens. The moment you say, "I'm just not that kind of person," stop. Ask why. Ask where that belief came from. Was it a parent who projected their fear onto you? Was it a failure you never fully processed? Was it a comment someone made years ago that still echoes in your decisions? Dig. Because once you understand the source of a belief, you take away its power. Then comes the replacement. It's not enough to just erase. Nature hates a vacuum. If you don't install a stronger belief, the old one will return. So you craft a new narrative, not a fantasy, but a clear, conscious identity rooted in who you want to become. You don't say, "I'm trying to be disciplined." You say, "I am disciplined." You don't say, "Maybe one day I'll be confident." You say, "I am building confidence through my actions." Every day you reinforce that new identity through repetition, through action, through thought. It starts small, catching one self-limiting belief and replacing it, then 2, then 5. Then you start building routines around those beliefs. You speak differently. You move differently. You stop tolerating the things you once endured because the old mindset no longer feels like home. And that's how you know the shift is real. It won't happen overnight. You'll relapse. You'll hear the old voice again. That's normal. That's expected. But the difference is this: you'll notice it. And in that moment of awareness, you reclaim your power. You say, "No, that's not me anymore." And even if you slip, you don't stay there because the new program is stronger now. It's rooted, it's conscious, it's yours. One of the greatest lies you've been told is that identity is fixed, that who you are is permanent. But Stoicism teaches the opposite, that you are malleable, that your reason, your judgment, your philosophy can evolve, must evolve if you want to live with freedom. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, which means your thoughts are not harmless. They are transformative. They shape your soul. They build your future. So ask yourself, what thoughts are dyeing your soul right now? What beliefs are shaping your daily choices? And most importantly, are those beliefs yours, or did you inherit them? Because until you confront the roots of your thinking, you'll keep watering weeds and wondering why nothing strong is growing. Rebuilding your life isn't about willpower alone. It's about changing the operating system that drives everything you do. And that change, it starts the moment you stop running on default and start designing a mind that serves your highest self. Number 5, cutting off negative influences forever. Look around. Not everyone in your life wants to see you grow, and not everyone who smiles at you is a supporter. Some just feel safer when you're stuck, when you're doubting yourself, when you're easy to predict, easy to manage, easy to control. This is the hard truth most people avoid. You are being influenced constantly. The only question is by who? Cutting off negative influences isn't an act of cruelty. It's an act of self-respect. It's choosing to protect the space where your future is being built. Because no matter how strong your vision is, if your environment is full of voices that mock it, question it, or drain it, you won't make it far. You'll end up spending your energy defending your growth instead of pursuing it. And that is a losing game. The Stoics understood the power of environment. They believed the mind must be trained daily but also shielded. You can't train for war and party with chaos. You can't seek wisdom and surround yourself with noise. Seneca once wrote, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." And that's not just a suggestion. It's a survival strategy because people plant seeds in your mind. Some plant courage, others plant doubt, and most people never stop to question what's growing in their mental garden until it's overrun with weeds. Sometimes the most dangerous influence isn't a loud enemy. It's a close friend with a weak mindset. The one who encourages your excuses, who laughs when you try to change, who pulls you back with subtle comments like, "You've changed," or "Don't take life so seriously." That's not humor. That's fear disguised as concern. And if you let it slide, you're choosing to shrink to make others comfortable. Cutting people off sounds harsh, but it doesn't have to be violent. You don't need a dramatic exit. You don't owe anyone a speech. You simply decide, my energy is sacred, my time is limited, and if your presence costs me my peace, my focus, or my self-worth, you no longer have access, period. This applies to more than just people. It's the media you consume, the accounts you follow, the shows you binge when you're avoiding yourself. Everything you allow into your mind is shaping your emotional climate. Are you feeding your focus or fueling your anxiety? Are you surrounding yourself with voices that elevate or ones that echo your old fears? One of the boldest things you can do in life is edit your circle with intention. You look at each connection and ask, does this person energize me, challenge me, inspire me, or do they just fill space? If someone's presence in your life is based only on history, habit, or guilt, you need to reevaluate. Loyalty is earned daily, and your future doesn't owe anyone an invitation just because your past did. There will be guilt. You'll wonder if you're being too cold, too selfish, too distant. That's normal. That's a sign you're healing because part of you has been conditioned to put others' comfort above your own evolution. But at some point, you have to choose grow or please. You can't do both. Stoicism teaches us to live according to nature. And nature is honest. Trees shed leaves, snakes shed skin, The old must fall away for the new to rise. It's not personal, it's necessary. The same goes for you. You are not obligated to carry anyone who refuses to walk, and you are not required to keep explaining your growth to people who are committed to misunderstanding it. There will be people who misunderstand your silence, who think your distance is arrogance. Let them. You're not walking away from people. You're walking toward who you're meant to be. You're building an environment so strong, so aligned with your values, that anything out of sync simply falls away. So take a moment. Look at your circle, your inputs, your habits. Ask, who would I become if I stopped letting these influences into my mind? What would I build if I guarded my peace like my future depended on it? Because it does. Before we continue with the next steps in this transformation journey, I want to take a moment to thank you for being here and for your commitment to personal growth. If you're finding value in this content and want to be part of our community of people dedicated to becoming stronger and wiser, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Together, we're building something powerful here at Stoic Ocean, and I don't want you to miss any of the insights and strategies we share to help you transform your life. Now let's move forward with the next crucial element of rebuilding yourself. Number 6, building an unbreakable routine for growth. Growth doesn't happen in a burst of motivation. It happens in the quiet hours, through repetition, through structure, through a routine so solid, so intentional, that it becomes impossible for you to drift back into your old ways. If your days are chaotic, your life will be too. And if your habits are random, so will be your results. That's the hard reality most people avoid. Success isn't about intensity, it's about consistency. An unbreakable routine is more than a schedule. It's a philosophy. It's a decision to stop waiting for ideal conditions and to start shaping your environment around your goals. Because you can't rely on willpower alone. Willpower fades. Emotion fluctuates, but discipline built through routine is what carries you when nothing else does. The Stoics were obsessed with routine. Marcus Aurelius started each day reminding himself that he would face selfishness, ingratitude, and irrational behavior, and still chose to meet the world with integrity. That wasn't by accident. That was training. That was repetition. That was a man who understood that to lead others, you must first master yourself, and self-mastery begins with structure. So ask yourself, what does your routine say about your priorities? Not your wishes, not your vision board, but your actions. If someone filmed your day from the moment you woke up, would it be obvious that you're building something powerful? Or would it look like you're just surviving? An unbreakable routine means there are non-negotiables in your day. Time to move your body, time to still your mind, time to work deeply, deliberately, without distraction. It means you don't wake up and check your phone first thing. You don't scroll before you've centered yourself. You don't let the world flood your brain before you've heard your own thoughts. And this isn't about perfection. You don't need to do 10 hours of productivity rituals to be effective. What you need is simplicity, clarity, repetition. Wake up at the same time, have a clear morning rhythm. Know when you'll train, when you'll work, when you'll disconnect, and most importantly, stick to it even when you don't feel like it. Especially when you don't feel like it. That's when discipline is forged. Too often, people chase motivation and ignore momentum. But real growth is boring. It's doing the same thing every day when no one is clapping. It's mastering the basics so well that they become instinct. And it's trusting that the invisible work you're doing now will show up later in ways you can't yet see. Your routine should anchor you. When life gets loud, it should bring you back to center. When emotions flare, it should hold you steady. It should be designed not just for what you want to accomplish, but for the kind of person you want to become. Because every habit is a vote for your future identity. And when you cast enough votes, the transformation becomes inevitable. This is also where most people fail. They build routines for their best days, not their real days. They aim too high, crash, and quit. But the Stoic doesn't aim for perfection. They aim for resilience. Build something sustainable, something honest, something that survives your bad moods, your tired mornings, your uninspired afternoons. That's how you win, not with bursts, but with rhythm. And yes, life will try to interrupt you. People will ask for your time. Emergencies will pop up. But when your routine is rooted in clarity and aligned with purpose, you won't be shaken. You'll adapt without collapsing. That's the mark of an unbreakable system. It bends, but it doesn't break. So take control. Audit your day. Design it like it matters because it does. No more vague goals. No more, I'll see how I feel. Build a routine that's so tied to your identity, missing it feels like betrayal. That's when you know you've locked in. Because in the end, greatness isn't a moment. It's a pattern. And your routine is the blueprint. Number 7. Mastering emotional control and self-discipline. Emotions are not your enemy. They are your teachers. But most people are slaves to their emotions, not masters of them. They react without thinking. They make decisions based on temporary feelings. They let emotional waves control the direction of their entire life. The Stoics understood that emotions themselves are not the problem. The problem is our relationship with them. We either let emotions rule us, or we learn to observe them, understand them, and respond with wisdom. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean becoming a robot. It doesn't mean suppressing what you feel. It means creating space between stimulus and response. It means developing the discipline to choose how you react instead of being controlled by automatic emotional patterns. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That power comes from understanding that emotions are signals, not commands. Anger signals that a boundary has been crossed. Fear signals that something matters to you. Sadness signals that you've lost something valuable. But the signal is not the action. The feeling is not the decision. And when you learn to interpret your emotions as data rather than directives, you gain immense power. You can feel anger without destroying relationships. You can feel fear without paralyzing your progress. You can feel sadness without losing hope. This is the essence of emotional mastery. Not elimination, but integration. Not suppression, but understanding. The Stoics practiced something called the dichotomy of control. They separated what they could control from what they couldn't. Your emotions themselves may not be fully under your control, but your response to them is. And that's where self-discipline comes in. Self-discipline is the bridge between feeling and action. It's the ability to pause, to breathe, to choose your response instead of being swept away by emotional currents. Think about the last time you lost your temper. Was it worth it? Did the explosion solve anything or create more problems? Most emotional outbursts are like throwing a rock in a pond. The splash is dramatic, but the ripples spread far and wide, affecting everything in their path. Emotional control starts with awareness. You have to notice when you're being triggered. You have to recognize the physical sensations that precede emotional reactions. The tightness in your chest, the heat in your face, the racing thoughts. These are warning signs. They're your opportunity to choose a different path. Instead of reacting immediately, you pause. You take a breath. You ask yourself, what's really happening here? What am I really feeling? And what's the wisest way to respond? This pause, this moment of reflection, is where freedom is born. It's where you reclaim your power from automatic patterns and choose deliberate action. But this requires practice. Emotional control is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Start small. Practice with minor annoyances. Someone cuts you off in traffic. A coworker makes a thoughtless comment. You feel that surge of anger or frustration. Instead of reacting, you pause. You breathe. You choose your response. Each time you do this, you're training your brain to respond differently. You're creating new neural pathways. You're building emotional discipline. Self-discipline extends beyond emotions to every area of your life. It's saying no to instant gratification for long-term gain. It's getting up when you don't want to. It's doing the work when motivation fades. It's keeping promises to yourself when no one is watching. This is the foundation of character. The Stoics believe that character is revealed through action, not intention. And self-discipline is what turns your intentions into reality. Without it, your goals remain dreams. Your potential stays untapped. Your life becomes a series of good intentions followed by inaction. But with self-discipline, everything changes. You become reliable to yourself. You build trust in your own abilities. You create momentum that carries you through the inevitable challenges of life. So ask yourself, where do you need more emotional control? Where do you need more self-discipline? What emotions tend to hijack your decision-making? And what's one small step you could take today to build your emotional mastery? Because the path to freedom isn't about eliminating emotions. It's about mastering your response to them. And that mastery begins with the choice to pause, to reflect, and to act with wisdom rather than impulse. Number 8. Reinventing your identity from the ground up. Identity is not something you discover. It's something you build. And the only way to build it is through action. Not through thinking, not through planning, not through wishing, but through doing. Most people have this backwards. They wait to feel like the person they want to become before they take action. They wait for confidence before they speak up. They wait for discipline before they start the routine. They wait for courage before they take the risk. But that's not how identity works. Identity follows action, not the other way around. You don't become disciplined and then start the routine. You start the routine, and through repetition, you become disciplined. You don't become confident and then take action. You take action, and through results, you become confident. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that character is forged through deeds, not intentions. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. And we waste it by waiting for the right feelings, the right moment, the right identity to appear. But the right moment is now. The right feelings come after action. And the right identity is built through the actions you take today." Reinventing your identity through action means you stop trying to think your way into change and start acting your way into it. It means you make decisions based on who you want to become, not who you've been. It means you choose actions that align with your future self, even if they feel uncomfortable or unnatural right now. Because growth always feels awkward at first. You're stretching beyond your current capacity. You're building new neural pathways. You're rewiring your entire system. And that process is messy. It's not clean or linear. There will be days when you feel like you're faking it. Days when the old identity pulls you back. Days when you wonder if this new version of yourself will ever feel natural. That's normal. That's part of the process. But you keep showing up. You keep taking the actions even when you don't feel like it. You keep making the choices even when they're hard. Because every action is a vote for your new identity. And over time, those votes accumulate. They create momentum. They build evidence. They make the new identity feel more real than the old one. This is where most people fail. They try to change everything at once. They overwhelm themselves with massive changes and then burn out. But identity change is most effective when it's strategic and sustainable. You pick one area to focus on, one habit to master, one action to repeat until it becomes automatic. And then you build from there. You create a foundation of small wins that builds confidence and momentum. And as you master each area, you expand your capacity to handle more change. The key is consistency over intensity. It's better to take one small action every day than to take massive action once a month. Because identity is built through repetition, not occasional bursts. Think about it this way. If you want to become a writer, you write every day, even when you don't feel inspired. If you want to become an athlete, you train every day, even when you don't feel motivated. If you want to become a leader, you lead every day, even when you don't feel qualified. That's how identity is forged, through daily deliberate action. And the beautiful thing about this process is that it's cumulative. Each action builds on the last. Each small win creates confidence for the next challenge. Each habit becomes easier over time, until one day you look in the mirror and realize you've become the person you were trying to think yourself into being. Not because you waited for the right feelings, but because you took the right actions. So ask yourself, what one action could you take today that would move you closer to the person you want to become? Not tomorrow, not next week, but today. What small choice could you make that would be a vote for your new identity? And then do it. Not because you feel like it, but because you're building something that matters. You're building yourself, one action at a time. And that's how you create a new identity that lasts. Not through inspiration, but through action. Not through wishing, but through doing. Because in the end, who you become is determined by what you consistently do, not what you occasionally think about. Number 9, the art of self-reliance. Self-reliance is not about isolation. It's about independence. It's the ability to stand on your own 2 feet, to make your own decisions, to trust your own judgment, even when the world disagrees. The Stoics championed self-reliance as the foundation of freedom. They understood that dependence on others for validation, for happiness, for survival is a form of slavery. Not because people are bad, but because external sources are unreliable. They change, they leave, they disappoint. But your inner resources, once developed, are always available. Epictetus, who was born a slave, yet became one of the greatest philosophers, knew this better than anyone. He taught that true wealth is not what you own, but what you can do without. And that includes dependence on others for your well-being. Self-reliance starts with taking responsibility for your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, your results. No more blaming, no more excuses. No more waiting for someone to save you. You are the hero of your own story, not the victim, not the side character, the protagonist. And protagonists solve their own problems. They make their own choices. They face their own demons. They grow through their own efforts. This doesn't mean you never ask for help. It means you don't need help to function. It means you're capable of standing alone, even when you prefer to stand with others. There's a difference between wanting company and needing it. One is preference, the other is dependence. Self-reliance requires developing multiple skills, not just professional skills, but life skills. The ability to manage your finances, to cook your own food, to fix what breaks, to navigate challenges without immediate assistance. These aren't just practical abilities. They're building blocks of confidence. Every problem you can solve on your own is one less reason to feel powerless. But self-reliance goes deeper than practical skills. It's about emotional independence, the ability to soothe your own anxiety, to celebrate your own wins, to process your own losses, to be your own source of validation. Most people look outside themselves for these things. They need praise to feel worthy. They need company to feel happy. They need approval to feel confident. But the truly self-reliant person generates these states from within. They don't wait for external validation. They give it to themselves. They don't need constant company to feel content. They enjoy their own presence. They don't require approval to feel confident. Their confidence comes from their own assessment of their efforts and growth. This is the freedom the Stoics spoke of. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom from needing external circumstances to be perfect in order to be at peace. Self-reliance also means trusting your own judgment, even when experts disagree, even when friends question you, even when the crowd moves in the opposite direction. This doesn't mean you're arrogant or closed-minded. It means you've done your own research. You've thought through your own values. You've considered your own goals. And you're willing to stand by your conclusions while remaining open to new information. The most self-reliant people are also the most coachable. Because they're not seeking validation, they're seeking truth. They're not afraid to be wrong. They're afraid of not thinking for themselves. Building self-reliance takes time. It requires stepping into uncomfortable situations, doing things you've never done before, making decisions without consulting anyone, facing problems alone. But each time you do, you expand your capacity. You prove to yourself that you can handle more than you thought. You build evidence of your own competence. And that evidence becomes the foundation of unshakable confidence. So ask yourself, where are you still dependent on others? Where do you seek external validation instead of generating it internally? What skills do you need to develop to become more self-reliant? And what's one step you could take today to build your independence? Because the path to true freedom is paved with self-reliance. Not isolation, not arrogance, but quiet confidence in your own ability to handle whatever life throws your way. And that confidence, once built, becomes your greatest asset. Number 10, turning pain into power. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. That's one of the most profound insights from Stoic philosophy. And it's also the key to transforming your greatest challenges into your greatest strengths. Most people run from pain. They avoid it, numb it, complain about it, but they never use it. They see pain as the enemy, as something to be eliminated at all costs. But the Stoics understood that pain is not just obstacle, it's opportunity. It's the raw material from which strength is forged. Think about it. Every muscle that grows does so through micro tears and repair. Every skill that develops does so through struggle and repetition. Every character that strengthens does so through adversity and perseverance. Pain is not the opposite of growth. It's often the prerequisite. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This isn't just a clever phrase, it's a fundamental truth about human development. The challenges you face, the pain you endure, the setbacks you experience, they're not just happening to you. They're happening for you. They're shaping you, strengthening you, preparing you for something greater. But this transformation doesn't happen automatically. It requires a conscious choice. You have to choose to see pain as teacher rather than tormentor. You have to choose to extract wisdom rather than just endure suffering. You have to choose to grow through what you go through rather than just go through it. Turning pain into power starts with reframing. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of seeing setbacks as proof of failure, you see them as feedback for improvement. Instead of viewing pain as punishment, you see it as preparation. This shift in perspective changes everything. It moves you from victim to victor, from passive recipient to active participant in your own development. The most powerful people you know have likely experienced immense pain. But they didn't just survive it, they integrated it. They learned from it. They used it as fuel. They allowed it to transform them into someone more compassionate, more resilient, more wise. Pain has many forms. There's physical pain from injury or illness. There's emotional pain from loss or betrayal. There's mental pain from anxiety or depression. There's spiritual pain from feeling lost or disconnected. And each type of pain carries its own lessons if you're willing to listen. Physical pain teaches you about your limits and your capacity for healing. Emotional pain teaches you about what truly matters and your ability to love deeply. Mental pain teaches you about your thought patterns and your need for mental discipline. Spiritual pain teaches you about your values and your search for meaning. But you have to be willing to look for the lessons. You have to be willing to sit with the pain long enough to understand what it's trying to teach you. Most people run too quickly. They distract themselves with work, with entertainment, with substances, with anything that helps them avoid feeling the pain. But avoidance doesn't eliminate pain. It just prolongs suffering, and it prevents the transformation that pain could bring. The Stoics practiced something called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. They would imagine worst-case scenarios not to be pessimistic, but to be prepared. This practice helped them face actual adversity with greater calm and resourcefulness. They had already considered the possibility of pain, so when it arrived, it didn't devastate them. They could respond with wisdom rather than panic. You can develop the same capacity, not by seeking pain, but by building your mental and emotional strength so that when pain inevitably comes, you're ready to use it rather than be used by it. This means developing coping strategies, building support systems, cultivating resilience, creating meaning from your suffering. Every time you face pain and choose growth over victimhood, you're turning pain into power. Every time you experience setback and choose learning over despair, you're transforming obstacle into opportunity. Every time you endure hardship and choose wisdom over bitterness, you're forging character that will serve you for the rest of your life. So ask yourself, what pain are you currently facing? What lessons is it trying to teach you? How could you use this experience to become stronger, wiser, more compassionate? Because the pain you're experiencing right now could either break you or make you. The choice is yours, and that choice will determine whether you suffer or grow. Number 11. Developing a relentless work ethic. Talent is overrated. Luck is unreliable. But work ethic is everything. It's the great equalizer. It's the one thing you have complete control over. and it's the foundation upon which all success is built. The Stoics understood the value of hard work not just for external achievement, but for character development. They saw work as a form of worship, as a way to honor their own potential, as a means of contributing to something larger than themselves. A relentless work ethic isn't about burnout. It's not about working yourself to exhaustion. It's about consistency, discipline, and purpose. It's about showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it, even when results aren't immediate, even when no one is watching. This is the difference between amateurs and professionals, between dreamers and achievers, between those who talk about their goals and those who actually achieve them. Most people underestimate what it takes to succeed. They see the highlight reel of someone's success without seeing the thousands of hours of tedious, unglamorous work behind it. They want the reward without the process, the outcome without the effort. But that's not how reality works. Excellence is the result of countless small efforts that no one sees or appreciates until the final result's revealed. A relentless work ethic starts with clarity of purpose. You have to know why you're working so hard. What drives you? What legacy do you want to leave? What impact do you want to make? Without a strong why, the how becomes difficult to sustain. When challenges arise, and they will, your purpose is what keeps you going. When motivation fades, and it will, your purpose is what pulls you forward. When others quit, and they will, your purpose is what keeps you in the game. But purpose alone is not enough. You need systems. You need routines. You need habits that automate your effort. Because willpower is finite, motivation is fleeting, but systems and habits are reliable. They ensure that you put in the work whether you feel like it or not. The most disciplined people don't have more willpower than others. They have better systems. They've designed their environment to make the right actions easier and the wrong actions harder. They've removed distractions. They've created accountability. They've built momentum through small, consistent wins. A relentless work ethic also requires embracing the grind. Not just the exciting parts, but the boring, repetitive, sometimes frustrating parts. Because mastery is built through repetition, through doing the same thing over and over until you become exceptional at it. This is where most people fail. They chase novelty. They jump from one thing to another looking for the magic bullet. But there is no magic bullet. There's only the magic of consistent, focused effort over time. The Stoics practiced what they called amor fati, the love of fate. This didn't mean passive acceptance. It meant loving the work that needed to be done, regardless of whether it was easy or difficult, pleasant or unpleasant. They found dignity in effort. They found meaning in struggle. They found purpose in contribution. This mindset transforms work from burden to calling, from obligation to opportunity, from something you have to do to something you get to do. When you reach this level of work ethic, work no longer feels like work. It becomes expression, it becomes service, it becomes art. And that's when you become unstoppable. Not because you never get tired, but because your purpose is stronger than your fatigue. Not because you never face setbacks, but because your resilience is stronger than your challenges. Not because you never doubt, but because your commitment is stronger than your fear. So ask yourself, what would a relentless work ethic look like in your life? What systems do you need to create? What purpose do you need to connect to? What one action could you take today to build your work ethic? Because the path to excellence is not secret. It's simple, but not easy. It's the daily choice to do what needs to be done, to do it well, and to do it consistently. And that choice, made day after day, is what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Number 12. The mindset of those who never quit. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail often comes down to one thing: the decision to keep going when everyone else would quit. This is the mindset of champions, the mindset of legends, the mindset of those who refuse to be defeated. The Stoics were masters of resilience. They understood that adversity is not just obstacle to overcome, but opportunity to demonstrate character. They saw setbacks as tests of their commitment, challenges as chances to strengthen their resolve, and failure as feedback for improvement. Never quitting doesn't mean never failing. It means never accepting failure as final. It means getting up one more time than you're knocked down. It means learning from every mistake and coming back stronger. It means adapting your strategy without abandoning your goal. This mindset starts with reframing how you see challenges. Most people see obstacles as reasons to stop. The never quit mindset sees them as reasons to grow. Most people see setbacks as evidence of limitation. The never quit mindset sees them as evidence of opportunity. Most people see difficulty as punishment. The never quit mindset sees it as preparation. This perspective shift is everything. It determines whether you see challenges as threats or as training grounds, as barriers or as stepping stones, as endings or as beginnings. The Stoics practiced negative visualization not to be pessimistic, but to be prepared. By imagining worst-case scenarios, they removed the fear of the unknown. When challenges actually arrived, they weren't surprised or devastated. They were ready. They had already considered the possibility and planned their response. This preparation gave them a psychological advantage that most people lack. But the never quit mindset goes beyond preparation. It requires unshakable belief. Belief in yourself, in your vision, in your ability to overcome whatever stands in your way. This belief is not blind optimism. It's confidence built through experience, through facing challenges and surviving, through making mistakes and learning, through pushing through discomfort and discovering your own strength. Every time you face fear and act anyway, your belief strengthens. Every time you face doubt and persist, your confidence grows. Every time you face pain and keep going, your resilience deepens. This is how the never quit mindset is forged. Not through reading about it, but through living it. Through choosing it day after day, especially when it's hard. Especially when no one would blame you for quitting. Especially when the path ahead seems impossible. Those are the moments that define you. Those are the choices that shape your destiny. The never quit mindset also requires flexibility. It's not about stubbornly doing the same thing that isn't working. It's about being willing to change your approach without changing your destination. Sometimes the path to your goal needs adjustment. Sometimes your strategy needs revision. Sometimes your timeline needs extension. But the goal remains. The vision stays. The commitment doesn't waver. This is the balance between persistence and adaptation, between determination and wisdom, between holding on and letting go. The most successful people know when to pivot and when to persevere. They listen to feedback. They learn from results. They adjust their methods. But they never lose sight of where they're going. They understand that failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of success. It's the tuition you pay for the lessons that lead to victory. Each setback teaches you something. Each mistake shows you a better way. Each challenge reveals your own strength. And if you're willing to learn these lessons, you never truly fail. You only grow. So ask yourself, where do you tend to quit? What challenges make you want to give up? What story do you tell yourself when things get difficult? And what would happen if you chose to persist instead? What could you achieve if you adopted the never quit mindset as your own? Because the truth is, most people quit right before their breakthrough. They give up when success is just around the corner. They stop when they're closer than they think, but not you, not anymore. You're going to be the one who keeps going, the one who persists, the one who refuses to be defeated. And that choice, that commitment, that mindset will change everything. It will transform not just your results, but who you become in the process. You will become someone who can handle anything, someone who can overcome everything, someone who never ever quits. And that's the ultimate victory, the victory over your own limitations, the victory that makes all other victories possible. This is your path. This is your destiny. This is who you're meant to become. Now it's time to begin. The journey of destroying the old you and rebuilding yourself alone is not easy, but it's worth it. Every step you've learned today is a tool for your transformation. Every insight is a weapon against your old patterns. Every strategy is a building block for your new identity. But knowledge without action is meaningless. Understanding without implementation is worthless. The power lies not in what you've heard today, but in what you do with it. Will you burn the bridges to your past? Will you embrace the power of walking alone? Will you break free from comfort? Will you erase your old mindset? Will you cut off negative influences? Will you build an unbreakable routine? Will you master your emotions? Will you reinvent your identity? Will you develop self-reliance? Will you turn pain into power? Will you cultivate a relentless work ethic? Will you adopt the never-quit mindset? The choice is yours. The power is yours. The future is yours. But only if you take action. Only if you commit. Only if you begin today. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when you feel ready. Now. If you're ready to start this transformation journey, if you're committed to becoming the person you're meant to be, subscribe to Stoic Ocean and join our community of warriors dedicated to growth, to strength, to freedom. Together we'll walk this path. Together we'll support each other. Together we'll become unstoppable. Your transformation starts now. The old you ends today. The new you begins in this moment. Seize it, embrace it, become it. This is your time. This is your moment. This is your life. Make it count. Destroy what holds you back. Rebuild what sets you free. Become who you're meant to be. The journey is yours. The power is yours. The victory will be yours. Now go claim it.